I'll never forget the morning when Harold walked into my office. At 73, this retired carpenter had built homes for families across our town for over 4 decades. His weathered hands told stories of hard work, and his eyes usually sparkled with the kind of wisdom that comes from a life well lived. But that day, Harold looked defeated. He sat across from my desk, fidgeting with his wedding ring, a simple gold band worn smooth after 48 years of marriage. "Doc Morgan," he said quietly, "I don't know how to say this, but I'm letting my wife down. We used to be, well, close, really close. But now—" His voice trailed off as he stared at the floor. "I've had this conversation thousands of times in my 30-plus years of practice. Men like Harold, good men, loving husbands, devoted partners, suddenly find themselves facing changes they never expected. They feel like their bodies have betrayed them, like they're somehow less of a man than they used to be. Harold," I said gently, "tell me what's really bothering you." He took a deep breath. "Martha and we've always had a good marriage. Through thick and thin, When I lost my job in '94, when her mother got sick, when we almost lost the house, we stuck together. We were a team in every way." He paused, his voice getting quieter. "But these past 2 years, things have changed. I want to be close with her. I really do. My mind is willing, but my body just won't cooperate. It's like trying to start an old truck on a cold morning. Everything seems fine under the hood, but nothing happens when you turn the key." Harold's frustration was written all over his face. "I've tried those little blue pills the commercials talk about. Sometimes they help a little, but they make me feel weird, dizzy, flushed, like my heart's gonna pound right out of my chest, and they're expensive as heck. $70 a pill. That's more than I used to make in a day." He looked up at me with eyes full of worry. "Doc, I'm scared Martha's going to think I don't love her anymore. We barely touch now, barely kiss. We sleep on opposite sides of the bed like we're strangers. After almost 50 years together, we're becoming roommates instead of lovers. That's not how I want our story to end." I reached across and patted Harold's shoulder. "Harold, first thing you need to know, you're not broken. And you're definitely not alone. What you're experiencing happens to most men as they get older. It's as natural as your hair turning gray or needing reading glasses. And just like we can do something about those changes, we can help with this too." His eyes brightened just a little. "Really? There's hope?" "Absolutely," I told him. "In fact, I'm going to share with you what I've learned from helping thousands of men just like you. Men who thought their romantic lives were over, but discovered they were just getting started on a new chapter." That conversation with Harold happened 3 years ago. Today, he and Martha are like newlyweds again, holding hands at the grocery store, stealing kisses in their kitchen, and yes, enjoying the kind of closeness that makes a marriage truly special. Harold calls it his second honeymoon phase, and Martha just glows when she talks about how happy they are. What changed? Harold discovered something most men his age don't know, something that's been hiding in plain sight for decades. Let me tell you about another patient of mine, Frank, a 68-year-old retired teacher who came to see me last spring. Frank's story is different from Harold's, but the ending is just as wonderful. Frank had been married to his college sweetheart Susan for 42 years. They'd raised 3 kids together, weathered the storms of life, and were looking forward to enjoying their golden years. But Frank was struggling with the same issues as Harold, plus something else that made everything worse. "Doc Morgan," Frank told me during his first visit, "it's not just that things don't work the way they used to. I'm tired all the time. I wake up exhausted, I need a nap by noon, and by evening I barely have energy to watch TV, let alone be romantic with Susan." Frank described how his mornings used to start with energy and optimism. He'd bound out of bed, eager to tackle the day. Now he felt like he was moving through thick mud from the moment his feet hit the floor. "I used to love working in my workshop," he continued, "building cabinets, fixing things around the house. Susan would bring me coffee and we'd chat about our plans for the day. Now I can barely concentrate long enough to read the newspaper. And when Susan tries to be affectionate, I feel guilty because I know I can't follow through. I asked Frank about his daily routine, and what he told me was eye-opening. Every morning, Frank would drag himself to the kitchen and pour a huge mug of coffee, his third attempt to wake up his body and mind. By 10 a.m., he'd had 2 more cups. The coffee would give him a brief burst of energy, followed by a crash that left him more tired than before. For lunch, Frank usually grabbed whatever was convenient: a sandwich, some chips, maybe leftover pizza. I know I should eat better, he admitted, but I just don't have the energy to plan healthy meals. By afternoon, Frank would feel so drained that he'd often cancel plans with friends. Susan wants to go for walks, visit the grandkids, maybe take a weekend trip somewhere, but I feel like I'm running on empty all the time. How can I be a good husband when I can barely take care of myself? The intimate side of their marriage had practically disappeared. It's not that I don't find Susan attractive, Frank explained. She's as beautiful to me now as she was when we were 20, but my body feels like a car with a dead battery. Everything looks fine from the outside, but when you try to start the engine, nothing happens. Frank had tried the same prescription pills as Harold, with similar results: occasional success, but uncomfortable side effects and a price tag that made him wince every time he filled the prescription. What Frank didn't realize, and what most men his age don't understand, is that the problems he was experiencing weren't really separate issues. The fatigue, the lack of energy, the difficulties with intimacy, they were all connected, like links in a chain. Here's what I explained to Frank, using a comparison that made perfect sense to a former teacher. Frank, think of your body like a school building. When you were younger, all the systems worked perfectly. The heating system kept everything warm, the electrical system powered all the lights and equipment, and the plumbing delivered water wherever it was needed. Now, after decades of faithful service, some of those systems aren't running as efficiently as they used to. It's not that the building is falling down, it just needs some tune-ups and the right kind of fuel to run smoothly again. I told Frank about the connection between what we eat and how our bodies perform, especially as we get older. Your body is like a high-performance engine, I explained. Put in cheap gas, and it'll sputter and stall. Put in premium fuel, and it'll purr like a kitten. Frank was intrigued. So you're saying the food I eat affects everything? Exactly, I replied. Your energy levels, your mood, your ability to focus, and yes, your ability to be intimate with Susan. It's all connected. I explained to Frank how certain foods act like premium fuel for the male body, especially after age 60. These aren't exotic superfoods or expensive supplements. They're simple, everyday items you can find at any grocery store. The amazing thing, I told Frank, is that when you give your body the right fuel, it remembers how to be young again. It's like tuning up that old-school heating system. Suddenly, the whole building is warm and comfortable. Frank left my office that day with a new understanding and a simple plan. No complicated diets, no expensive treatments, just a few easy changes to his daily routine. 3 months later, Frank bounded into my office like a man half his age. His energy was back, his mood was bright, and the smile on his face told me everything I needed to know about how things were going with Susan. "Doc," he said, grinning like a teenager, "I feel like I got my life back. Susan and I are planning a trip to Europe, something we always talked about but never had the energy to do. And our marriage, well, let's just say we're both very happy." Now, let me share with you the same natural approach I gave to Harold, Frank, and thousands of other men who thought their best days were behind them. Think of your body like a garden that's been neglected for a while. The soil is still good, the roots are still strong, but the plants aren't blooming the way they used to. What does every good gardener know? You don't need to tear everything up and start over. You just need to give the garden the right nutrients, and nature takes care of the rest. The male body works the same way. After 60, certain systems start running low on the specific nutrients they need to function properly. It's like a car running low on oil. Everything might seem fine at first, but eventually the engine starts to struggle. Here's the beautiful part. Your body wants to work properly. It wants to give you energy, strength, and yes, the ability to be intimate with the woman you love. You just need to give it the right tools. I always tell my patients to think of this approach like tending a campfire. When a fire starts to die down, you don't pour gasoline on it. That might create a brief flare-up, but it's dangerous and short-lived. Instead, you add the right kind of kindling, blow gently on the embers, and watch the flame come back to life naturally. The secret lies in 3 simple types of everyday foods that act like kindling for the male body. First, think about foods that help your blood flow like a river instead of thick molasses. When Harold came to see me, I explained it this way. Imagine your circulation as a network of garden hoses, watering your entire yard. If those hoses get clogged or kinked, some parts of the garden don't get the water they need. Certain everyday foods act like a pressure washer for your circulation system. They help clear out the clogs and get everything flowing smoothly again. I'm talking about simple things like dark leafy greens, colorful berries, and certain nuts that you can find in any grocery store. Second, your body needs foods that act like natural energy boosters, not the jittery, short-lived buzz you get from caffeine, but steady, all-day power that keeps you feeling strong and confident. Think of it like the difference between a flickering candle and a steady lighthouse beam. These energy-boosting foods help your body produce its own natural fuel more efficiently. It's like upgrading from a gas-guzzling old truck to a smooth, efficient engine that runs all day without breaking down. Third, and this might surprise you, there are common foods that help your body remember how to be young again in the most important ways. These work like a gentle reminder to all your systems. Hey, remember how to do this. Remember how good it felt to be strong and confident and ready for anything. The amazing thing is how quickly this approach works. Most of my patients start feeling more energetic within the first week. They sleep better, wake up refreshed, and find themselves actually looking forward to the day ahead. By the second week, they notice improvements in their mood and mental clarity. They can focus better, remember things more easily, and feel more like their old selves. And by the 3rd or 4th week, well, that's when their wives start calling to thank me. Just last month, I got a call from Margaret, whose husband Tom had been struggling with the same issues as Harold and Frank. "Dr. Morgan," she said, her voice full of joy, "I don't know what you told Tom, but I feel like I got my husband back. We went dancing last weekend for the first time in 3 years. Dancing. And afterwards..." She giggled like a newlywed. The best part about this natural approach is that it gets better with time. Unlike those expensive pills that work for a few hours and then leave you feeling worse than before, this method actually improves your overall health and vitality. I want you to imagine something for a moment. Picture yourself 6 months from now, feeling the way you did 20 years ago. You wake up naturally without an alarm, feeling rested and ready to tackle whatever the day brings. Your mind is sharp, your body feels strong, and when you look in the mirror, you see a man who's confident and capable. More importantly, imagine the look in your wife's eyes when she sees this version of you. The way she smiles when you take her hand, the way she laughs at your jokes like she did when you were dating, the way she looks forward to bedtime instead of finding excuses to stay up late. This isn't a fantasy. It's absolutely possible, and it's probably easier than you think. Harold calls me every few months just to check in and share how well things are going. Last Christmas, he sent me a photo of him and Martha dancing at their granddaughter's wedding. Both of them were beaming, and Martha looked radiant in Harold's arms. Frank and Susan did take that trip to Europe. They sent me postcards from Paris, Rome, and Barcelona. "Having the energy to really enjoy this adventure," Frank wrote. "Feeling grateful every day for getting my life back." These men aren't special cases. They're not genetically gifted or unusually healthy. They're regular guys who learned how to give their bodies what they needed to thrive again. The choice is yours. You can continue feeling tired, frustrated, and worried about disappointing the woman you love. Or you can take a simple step toward reclaiming the vitality and confidence that's been hiding inside you all along. Your wife fell in love with a strong, confident, passionate man. That man is still there. He just needs the right fuel to shine again. Your best days aren't behind you. They're waiting for you to claim them. Dr. Catherine Morgan, Men's Vitality Specialist. Take care of yourself. Dr. Catherine Morgan, Men's Vitality Specialist.